competing in, we are repeating it, we are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.
Okej, då kör vi nu.
Hi everyone, so nice to see you all. Welcome to this moment where we will talk about the consultancy in the new paradigm. Where the theme for this year in this broadcast is Choose Wisely. My name is Veronica Sayanox, and I have just graduated from a program called Hållbar livsmedelsintraprenör, which is Sustainable Food Intrapreneur in English, from Folkuniversitetet i Lund. And now I am interested to start my own consultancy firm, and I have invited Monica Fallesen and Stellan Nordahl, who are consultants today, and they will tell their stories on how they started. But first, I would like to present Emma Håkansson, my former classmate. So please tell us your story and where you are today and what you want to be and so on.
Okay, thank you. Well, as you said, I'm also a former pupil on the education Hållbar livsmedelsintraprenör, and we graduated a few weeks ago. And like you, Veronica, I'm wondering about maybe starting my own business. Well, I'm not I'm not clear about that, but I have plans for it. Yeah, and if I start an own business, it would be in I think many different orientations. My interest is food waste, to reduce food waste, but I also have other interests, like designing books and other printings and making and selling my own handicrafts and so on. So I'm a little bit wide. Yeah. So that's me.
So, Monica, can you tell us your story, your background, and how you ended up where you are today?
Yeah, I will. My name is Monica Fallesen, and I've been my own consultant for 3 years now. Before that, I was in healthcare business, the private healthcare, and worked there for a very long time. And then it came to a day then 2 companies were going to get together, and I had to choose. Do I want to go with this other company, or do I want to go, or do I want to do something else? And that's when I decided I will do something else. And a friend of mine helped me to start up a business. And then we were. I've been working with LSS and residential homes before. So we started up to do that. And the business now when the market has been as it was, so it wasn't easy, and it was COVID, and I was also thinking about education, but I couldn't do that because it was COVID, and I had a rough start really. Then it started to lighten up, both in the market and also that I was thinking about other things to do. If I can't build a residential home, what will I do with that land, for example? So I also started to do some kind of sales in batteries. So if you say you're wide, Emma, that's not what that's not at all what I am. I'm so wide. It's crazy, really.
I'm glad to hear.
Yeah. And for the last 1 year, and me and my partner went sideways. So now I have a business with my husband. I have a business with another colleague, which I work for, and I do a lot of things. And I think I find a way to that's when someone is have more experience, as my friend had, who will help me. I just listen to him. I didn't listen to myself, what I want to do. So I think that's what I've been doing for the last 1 year. Listen to myself and doing the way I want to do it. And that's a lot of things, not narrow, or I have to be a wide person.
Very courageous. But it paid off. You feel you feel like you found your path now.
Yeah, I really think that, and of course it helped that I can build my residential homes again because there are some lighting up in the market. But I do my batteries and I do my educations. I'm here at Emprogate, which is a place that I've found lovely because everyone that in Emprogate is doing a lot of things. So it's okay. And there are so many people that told me, you have to narrow it down, you have to narrow it down, you have to narrow it down. But I don't want to narrow it down. And now I'm really glad because if I didn't have different kind of things, I don't think my business would have lost in this time of COVID and the hard market and so on. I had the possibility to change, to work with different things. So I think that's saved my companies.
That's interesting to hear, actually, because I want to ask you if you see any disadvantages operating in many different orientations.
Yeah, of course there is. It's not like that now it's battery, next week it's the homes, and next week's the education. Sometimes it's nothing, and sometimes it's everything. So that's hard to plan when you have your own business. And it's hard to plan because you don't know where the business is coming, and you don't want to say no to a business when you are your own. You have to say yes. But sometimes you have to say no, and you have to have a great structure. I'm not that person with a big structure, but I have to have it right now. I have whiteboards in my office. Batteries. What would I do in the batteries? My residential homes. What would I do with that? My education. What would I do with that? And then I have a lot of other things I do, which is not paid work, but it's all kind of networking, and I do pechakuchas and so on. So I really have been. I have to have a much bigger structure than I had before when I just had one job.
So how does what does your week look like? Like, from a practical point of view, do you work like a normal person that has a full-time job 40 times a week, 40 hours a week? Or do you work weekends? Like how?
Yeah, I work weekends, but before when I was employed, I felt it was crazy to work at weekends. I really didn't want to do that. But now, when me and my husband, one of the companies we have together, on Sundays we sit here and make all the administration for the company, and it's lovely. We have a cup of coffee and so on. So that's not a burden anymore because I do it for myself. And I have a lot of meetings, really, and I travel sometimes to look at the homes and the properties and so on. But I don't work 8 to 5 any day, not at all. I work when I have to. It's crazy. It sounds crazy, really, but it's a lot of wait. When you're doing business, I have to wait to the customer answer. Then I have to connect with another person and so on. So it's a lot of waiting, really. So even if I work a lot, there is a lot of waiting in between that I can do other things, which I think is nice because I like doing a lot of things.
Stellan, founding father of Emprogage and this podcast, if I'm correct.
Yeah, at least co-creator.
Co-creator,
yeah,
okay.
Co-creator, yeah. So we can come back to that in a while when we talk about the new paradigm and so on. But
absolutely, I was just going to ask you, like this pod is called Consultancy in the New Paradigm. Can you explain more about what the new paradigm is?
Yeah, definitely. I can start out with why I do, and what is my why. I had a profound insight some 17 years ago or something like that about the future isn't something we're supposed to meet. It's something we create, and that insight struck me when I was in one of my toughest periods in my life. And at that point, I realized that this is something I need to work with because it changes the way we have built society. And I had a background at that point as civil engineer and officer, and realized that this will impact how we look at organizations, how we manage organizations, leadership, self-leadership, and actually all parts of society. So at that point, I realized I must do something, just not be reactive, more be proactive in it. And at that point, I started my own business as a consultant, and also have been working in many constellations together with people. And that is what I believe is the way forward, to work together. And for me, it was the only way, because if I would have been into a box, it wouldn't have been good either for the box or for me. So I can, as a free spirit, more or less, be extremely creative and create value for other people. But as soon as I'm in a I wouldn't say I can't follow instructions. It's not like that. It's more like I need to be part of the solution. Otherwise, I have a problem with it. Personal problem also. So that's a little bit about my story. So I've been working as a consultant now for a little bit more than 15 years. And consultancy and consultant is just a word for being able to do this in some kind of a structured way. So that's my story, very short. And yeah.
So the new paradigm that we're consultants in. What's the old paradigm?
Yeah.
What's the contrast?
Yeah. The old paradigm. It's probably something that we take for granted. A paradigm for me. I work a lot with choices and how we the capabilities we need to be able to choose wisely, or at least be intentional in our decisions. And so when we choose and we do it over and over again, we call it a habit. We create habits, both subconsciously but also intentionally. And so for me, it's very important to be aware of that. When we create and do make choices, we also create habits. And habits of a high order is a paradigm. And what happens in a paradigm is that you don't question the fundamental assumptions on a daily basis. And so a paradigm for me is when we don't reflect any longer on the assumptional level. We take a lot of truths as truths, and so the old paradigm then, or the existing paradigm, I don't know, is a lot of assumptions are hidden in the structures, in how we organize. But we must remember that everything that isn't created by nature is just something that has been in someone's mind. It's an idea from start, and that's how we as humans organize and create society. So the old paradigm, I would say, is a construct that is stuck more or less with reductionism and materialism, which means what you see is what exists. And what you can measure exists, and if you can't measure it, it doesn't exist. So approximately that, and that's what we take for granted. We even organize in that way.
So can you give an example of a new paradigm way of working, like a concrete example?
Yeah, definitely. For instance, if we take this, what we do now, and we put it in the old paradigm, then it's an interview that Veronica has with 3 persons. You ask questions, you post them to us, and we answer them. And what we answer with is some kind of an answer. I would say if we take the same conversation and we make it to a dialogue, which is regenerative, which means that we all are co-creators of the dialogue, then it's not up to a single person at all time to ask the questions. Maybe posing a question is something Monica does to the rest of us, or to Emma, and we all take responsibility for the conversation. Instead of one person taking all the responsibility, we distribute it, but it's not like it was in the old paradigm. When we distributed responsibility, we would then say, okay, Emma, you take 25% of the responsibility, and Monica, you take 25%, and then you, Veronica, you take 1/4, and I take the last 25%. And with that definition, responsibility will be diminished as we become more in this little club. Maybe we create a society of some sense, and responsibility goes to zero. In the new paradigm, I would say we need a new definition of, or we have a new definition of responsibility, which means that Emma takes 100% responsibility for this conversation, so does Monica, so does Veronica, and so does I. Which means that in the new paradigm, we can definitely choose to have an interview, but we can also choose to have a dialogue. That's one example.
More inclusive way of working.
Yeah, both inclusive, because it could be very inclusive, even if you would have the only, so to speak, responsibility to pose questions. It could also be inclusive by asking me questions, asking Monica questions, asking Emma questions. So I think it's more like where is the agency in the context, and we have organized in a way. For instance, take any company. We believe in the old paradigm that the best way to take decisions is that one person takes all decisions on all terms in all circumstances, under all circumstances, and does it with the best knowledge. Yeah. Is that true? I don't know. It's an assumption that we have based the system on.
Isn't it also a kind of what's the agenda? Because if we all have the same responsibility, we have the same agenda, we have the same vision of some kind, and that makes us equal. That makes sense about the vision. When I started to work with the first colleague I had, we didn't have the same vision, and I didn't really think that matters that much. But when you have to make intentional decisions, and you have to choose wisely. The decisions are connected to the vision you have. And the vision you have, if you're not agreeing with the vision, you can't act like we are doing now, 100% engaged, all of us, really. Does that make sense?
Yes, and and is a good word in the new paradigm, I guess, instead of but. I would say and there is something, I don't know what to call it, but when we talk about people engaging and stuff, we very often believe that that means that we have to engage in the same way. We have to have the same idea on what is creating value and so on. But what if we say instead, Emma, you contribute with what you can contribute with, and I contribute with what I can contribute with, and so forth. That would then end up in being engaged in on I don't say a right level, no, what is right for me, instead of always saying that you have to put in the same amount of work or the same amount of ideas or the same amount of whatever it is. I mean, we have different strengths. We have different types of maybe also visions. Even if we share some kind of a common ground, I would say sharing a vision, isn't that almost impossible? I don't know. I don't know.
It depends on what we mean with vision, I think. If vision is that we should move forward, that we should choose wisely, whatever wisely is, because wisely is different for every person, really. But I think you can have some kind of common value, really, even if it is the same vision. It's some kind of that glue us together.
So what's the most important things or thing you would say when you go from this from me and my and Emma's current place in life to just starting a business, to press that button to create the business? Like, what is the biggest step?
What would you say? What would you say, Veronica?
Okay.
What I say?
Yeah, what would you say?
Well, I have never started a business, so I don't know what should I do before I actually do the administrative part of starting a business.
Okay, so just by asking you the question also gives me a perspective on kind of what is it that you see is a hurdle.
First, I would need a offer, right?
I don't know. Maybe.
Do I have to know what I want to do?
Okay, so in the
or can I make it up along the way?
Yeah,
or
in the old paradigm, I would say definitely, and we're still there. So it's not that it's wrong. I don't believe that it's wrong to have an offer, or you have identified a need and you have something that meets that need. But on the other hand, if we look at it, the big transition that we are in from something that we have believed for a very long time, and now we need to maybe shift a lot of, I mean, it's digitalization, it's the green transition, there are many words for the same shift. So what we probably need is someone asking questions, I don't know, or someone, or maybe many people presenting new ideas and stuff like that. And maybe that's the offer then, to ask questions and to be open-minded. I don't know. If I go to what I do, if it being a little bit more practical, when I work with organizations, if I already have an answer, then I have to find the need to fit that answer into. That is often what is called an offer. I have like a program or maybe it's something that I packaged into a feasible product. Okay, so I have this product and I have to find the need where it fits. But maybe that's not what they really need. It's maybe just one of the things they need. Maybe it could be another solution, or it could be another question maybe. So I would say starting out in that end have been the trick for me, at least. And that means that do I then need an offer, or maybe I should create the offer when we co-create what we're going to do. But that's a totally different competence as a consultant than deliver something over and over again. But it's not wrong. It's just that there are more ways to create business, I guess, today. I don't know if you agree there, Monica.
Yeah, I do agree. I think there is a Japanese way of Kitagai, I think it says, of find out what you love, find out what you're good at, and then find out how to make money out of it.
Oh yeah, Ikigai. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's I think you have to love the things you do. You have to believe in it. That's the first thing, really. And then I think go with the network, work with the flow. If someone told me 3 years ago, you're going to sell batteries, I would have said, no, I'm not going to sell batteries. I don't know anything about batteries. But when we couldn't build a house, we had to do something else. And then I was presented for this idea. And instead of saying, no, I won't do that, maybe I will do that. And I don't, like Stellan said, we can tribute with a lot of things. I'm not a mathematic or technician or so on, but I like to sell things. So I'm selling batteries, but I'm not the one that talks about the techniques and so on. I tribute with my way of working. So I think you should find the way that you are good at, the things you are good at, and then you can apply them to a lot of things and work with network, and then the opportunity will come to you. But you have to have something to start with, something like that.
I have a question.
Do you have any reflect?
Yeah, sorry, go first.
No, I was gonna ask Emma if she had any reflections, but you can start if you want, Stella.
When I hear you, Monica, I think it takes a whole lot of courage and also self-confidence to learn different areas and also risk taking, I would say. Do you think me as a person, I'm not risk taking? I don't have really good self-confidence. I don't have really much courage. Am I a wrong person to make business, start an own business, would you say?
No, I don't think so at all. If you look at the people that I'm surrounded with in my network, we are so completely different, and that's what I love. Because if everyone should be like me and Stella, then it has been woo. We need a person that's we cool down and yeah, we are different, and everybody needs. Everybody have to have their own kind of way to work that I like, really. So I don't think it's a wrong person. What do you say, Stellan? In our network, we're so completely different, every one of us, I think.
Yes, definitely. And I was actually asking about to ask Emma a little bit, but because you said something, I'm so wide I have so many things to contribute with. Okay, so very often in the previous paradigm, you had to be either a specialist, and then you should narrow everything down, and you should dig, really dive deep. And then the other way around was to be a generalist, knowing a little bit on a lot of things, which meant that you couldn't really go deep into something, because then you weren't a generalist. So in the situation that we're in now, where a lot of the fundamental assumptions are actually, we need new ones, or we maybe already understood that it's something else that is valid that wasn't valid before, and so on. There is a word that was up until the 17th century, the universal genius, the polymath, that could that had the knowledge of a lot of things on a deep level. I don't know when the point was where you couldn't really be that any longer. But what we need now is something that looks like that. Someone that is open-minded, to a fast learner, and empathic, who can dig into many different areas, but not as a generalist, more like a general specialist or something, I don't know. And knowing you, as we have got to know each other for 1.5 years, Emma, you had a task, you had a list here. You said courage, self-confident, and risk-taking. What if we changed them to empathic, open, and fast learner? Then you check all the boxes.
That's wise.
So who does this checklist? I mean, if the checklist is courage, self-confidence, and risk-taking, I had to go somewhere else. I have to find myself some new tasks in life. But if it's open-minded, fast learner, and empathic, I would say you're fit for this job, Emma. That's more or less how I would say this is Emma. You're extremely fast learner, and I mean, taking all the knowledge you already have and put it into a new area, that's not a common competence today, but we probably need plenty of that one. Cross-function, cross-borders was the name before, because that we cross the borders and cross the functions. But what if we need to be able to grasp a lot of it at the same time?
Thanks.
So I don't know if you would have that checklist, then I would say you check the boxes.
Yeah. I will do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will try to do that.
And I mean, risk taking. When you mentioned that, I was thinking of what is the biggest risk. And you said something else in the beginning, Veronica. You said a normal person, and I was okay. What is normal?
That's also a part for itself. What is normal? Who is?
Yeah, and so if a normal person is someone who is employed, I would say that's a risk taker. I mean, putting all your abilities of taking the big decisions in life in someone else's hand, that's a big risk. I mean, who can fire me? Only myself. That's worth thinking of.
What fears did you have before starting your consultancy business that you had to overcome that were no longer fears?
Did you ask this question to all of us, or to yourself?
No,
or
Stellan.
to me? Okay.
The last one talking. Sorry.
Sorry. Fears. Okay. I think I'm super curious. So it's not that I'm not afraid of stuff, but I came to a point in life where my experiences I had at that point, in very short, I became a father first time a year after my daughter died, and the year after my son was born. During that time period, I really tried out all fears, and also I tried out how you can worry for something, and I really went very deep in that, and there was nothing good to find. So that's my biggest advice to people: don't go down that alley. And I wouldn't say I'm fearless, because I definitely have fears as everyone else, but it's not on this level as when I started out my business. It wasn't a question of fear. It was more a question on this is something needed, or this is something I must do, or something like that. Maybe it sounds odd, I don't know, but
Monica, did you have any fear that you had to overcome before actually choosing to become a consultant?
Now I had a friend who helped me with economics at first. So otherwise, that was the biggest fear, really. And when we split up, how will I manage to make money? It's been hard sometimes. Now I have a husband that has an income, and my children are older, so I don't have to support them that way. And but I think it's important to think like Stellan says. Just go on, because if you worry, it won't be a good thing to do. You have to have an open mind, and of course you have to be realistic, of course. But I don't think worry it's a good thing when you start a new business. Then you have to lay the worry aside and go for it, really. And then maybe it come to a point that it's either I go on or not, because that's what's the thing I said. What's the worst thing that ever happened? Then I have to get myself another job, and that I think I can do. So then, what is the worst thing that can happen?
yeah, now I'm thinking of what is the basis of my decisions. If that is things that I worry for, then I probably will take decisions that are not good for either me or for the context that I'm in. It's easy again to say, so it's not the same thing to talk about the decision than to really do it or decide. The way forward for me was finding people who wanted to co-create. A year after I started my business, I met with in different places. I met with 3 people who were all into some same ideas that I wanted to explore. At that point, it was a leadership program. So we created a leadership program together. We didn't know each other beforehand, so we sat down and had an idea. It was someone who worked as a psychologist and was like organizational consultant, and one was a nurse who had started her own coaching business, and then it was me. So there were 4 of us, and what we did was that we and I met them by networking with people. And what we did was that in the spring we decided that we're going to host a program in the autumn. So we scheduled when it was. I think we hosted 2 programs that autumn. So we scheduled the dates and started to sell. But we didn't have the program, but no one knew. So we just moved on.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, and the budget was that, okay, so if we sell it to 2 people, then we have then we will go for it. So we I think we had 8 or 9 people in with the first program we threw, and but when we had 2 that had booked, then we knew, okay, this will be. So now we start to develop the program. So we didn't put in any effort into the offer before we knew that we sold it, and that was really nice in some sense. It's not often that maybe you have the opportunity to do like that, but I believe for us at that point it really mattered, because we followed what we were also talking about, so we lived the same way that we preached. So, but maybe that was naive, I don't know. But it went well, so we had that program for a couple of years. And then for my own business, it was important to find people that I could work with, and not only as finding a customer, but more like finding partners in different ways. So I've been working with different constellations, you can call it, during the last 15 years, and my biggest context now is the Emperor Gauge, where we are 22 consultants that are in the core, and then we also have another like 50 people co-creating together with us, and that has been an interesting journey.
So Emma, do you have any fears or worries before you take the step to become a consultant that haven't been answered today?
Well, me as a person, I'm a worrier. I worry about almost everything. No. I don't know.
I have a question for you, Emma. Is it that you have a lot of fantasy? Because I think fantasy and fears often create worries. You must have a marvelous fantasy.
Maybe I do. Yeah.
Me too.
Maybe I should be an author.
Yeah, you feed it with something
I
that
like
is
writing.
Yeah. Feed it with something that is like affirming life and affirming more or less like when you feed fantasy, everything grows.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you have a good fantasy or a vision, dreams, then we
I could do anything.
You can, really. We all can. Well, so our time is up, and I just wanted to say thank you for this lovely conversation.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
And I hope we all feel a little bit more lighter and ready to take the next step in our lives. So thank you for today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Good luck.
We are creating the world we're now living in. We are competing in. We are repeating in. We are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.